Hey, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to Life Mastery Decoded for women and women entrepreneurs, where I help you decode the struggles in your life in the areas of health, wealth, and relationships with mind mastery and meditation tools and techniques so that you can live the life that you're proud of. Welcome to today's podcast. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope today I find you confident in being able to make decisions. And if today's episode does not find you confident in being able to make decisions, then it is my intention that you find one nugget of inspiration to help you to gain the confidence in your daily life to make those little tiny decisions that dictate the course of your life, as well as those big, bold decisions that I'm hoping you are learning to step into. So welcome to today's podcast where we're going to be talking about the art of decision making. I was not a very good decision maker, as you can tell if you've listened to my other podcasts and my stories about relationships specifically, and apparently jobs as well, because I've had 37 jobs and I've had a small handful of relationships, all of which got progressively better because of the decisions I made. But obviously, there's a relationship that I had where I should have decided probably the second time things went south that I should have left the relationship. I will tell you though, I did make the decision to leave, and then I would waver and become wishy-washy and would second guess and not trust and not have faith in my decision. But then I would fall back into the same groove, allowing myself to be vulnerable to hurt and pain. So here's where we are. When we make a decision, it allows the universe and the universal energies to come to our assistance, right? And if I make a decision, then it is telling the universe, I'm deciding to step into this particular role, this particular choice. I want my life to go in this direction, okay? So if we're talking about health, let's say, is you make a decision every single day what you eat that is either good for or not good for you and your health or your body. And we think of decisions as, well, I'm deciding to, ask for a raise, or I'm deciding to go out with this person, or I'm deciding to, do I make this big purchase? Do I buy this new car? Do I lease? Do I rent? Those are all pretty big decisions, right? But every single day, you are faced with thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of decisions every day. Do I get up and go to work? Do I brush my teeth? Do I wear deodorant? Do I wear these pants or this skirt or that hat? Do I drive do I take this turn or do I drive this way? Do I have lunch? Do I walk in this door? I mean, every single thing you do, every single behavior is a choice. Now, you might be saying, well, yeah, but it's just my daily routine. Well, right, but you're making a choice to brush your teeth every single morning, right? Because you could decide not to. You could decide to call in to work. You could decide to walk into work and quit, right? So we are faced with hundreds of thousands of decisions every single day. Now, when it comes to those big, bold decisions, do I quit my job and go out on my own and become an entrepreneur? Do I ask for a divorce? Do I date this guy versus that guy or something like that? Do I get a new puppy? Do I buy a computer? Do I lease a car versus, right? I mean, these are all big decisions, or they're looked at as big decisions. And then how do we make them? Well, when you're standing at the fork in the road, if you will, I can either go this way to the left and go and make this decision, or I can go this way to the right and make this decision. Well, typically we look at decisions like that, because our brain has to wrap itself around this nebulous thing of making decisions. And we also think that if I choose the wrong path, something terrible is going to happen. So like example, you have two people in front of you and you're not sure which one to date. Well, your brain starts to logically go through the scenario of these are the pros and cons about this person, and these are the pros and cons about this person. Or you could use a job as an example. So those are logical ways to make decisions. But let me explain to you a different way to make a decision, because if you use that logical way, you will notice, so let's say there are two people. and you write their name on the top and you write pros and cons and you start to make the list. And then you write the other person's name over here and you write pros and cons and you start to make the list. Eventually, what you will notice is that kind of automatically, and you might think this is in a logical way, but I'm going to explain to you why I don't believe it's logical, is one person's going to have naturally more pros than cons, and same with the other. But you get stuck, let's say you do 7 and 8 pros and cons on the list, and then all of a sudden you're just really thinking more pros for this person over here, more positive things about this person over here, because that's your intuition saying it's this person. Does that make sense? Let me further explain. I was a part of a women's retreat back in like 2011 or 12. And it was called Mariposa, which is a Spanish word for butterfly. And it was all about transformation. And it was a 7-day retreat. I went to a place called Eagles Ridge near Austin, Texas. And I had no desire to go to Texas whatsoever. I do not like big poisonous animals like spiders and snakes and God knows what else scorpions, what else they have in Texas that is poisonous. And I had no desire to go. And my friend who owned the retreat and owned this company was encouraging me to go to gain these tools to become this life coach. Because right now I'm kind of a personal trainer. I'm running boot camp. I don't really know where I'm going, but I know that I want to be a life coach and I want to be kind of a speaker and I want to continue to expand on this personal development side of my business. And so anyway, she doesn't really talk me into it, but I ask her 4,000 questions about, how to go there, the travel, where are we going to be, where are we going to stay. I'm also very introverted. I didn't want to share a room with a stranger. What are we going to be doing every day? I mean, I was literally asking her 400,000 questions to do what? So I could best make my decision. And I was a no, and then I was a yes, and then I was a no, and I was a yes. And it was a very, very stressful 7 days of my life because this could totally be life-changing for me. And that's what she was telling me. If you go to this retreat, it is going to be life-changing. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to go to the retreat. I just don't want to go to Texas. So where else can you hold this retreat? Nowhere. It's in Texas. Okay, that's where it's going to be. And it's going to be this year and it's coming up. And do you want to go or not? No. Okay, yes. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Okay, but the dilemma was going to Texas. I do want to go, I don't want to go. And you should ask Amy about this. This is quite an interesting story, especially from her perspective. She's like, I can't help you make this decision. I think you should go, but I understand that you're basically terrified of Texas because everything is big and everything is poisonous. And I hate spiders. So I don't want to go to Texas because they're like the size of my head. And it's going to be on this place called Eagles Ridge, which is like this outdoor retreat center where there's cabins and it's all that's natural and there's all these trails and, we're going to be outside. Not the whole retreat is outside, but it's like this. And I'm like, I'm terrified to go, but I want to go. So it's this big dilemma. The reason I ended up going is because I ran out of time to say no again. Because she's like, you would fly tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. And it's like 11 o'clock at night. And she's like, I already have your plane ticket. You're already ready to go. You just need to pack your crap and get on the plane. And I'm like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Have you ever seen The Grinch with Jim Carrey? And he's trying to decide if he's going to go down into Whoville and accept this award. And he's like, yes, no, yes. That's totally me about Mariposa. So anyway, obviously I decided to go. It was absolutely, again, a pivotal point in my personal development and my transformation was the 7 days spent at this retreat. I am not a very huggy person. I'm not like touchy-feely. I'm very like, I keep all that kind of stuff in my intimate relationship and with my kids and stuff like that. I'm not like this outward expression of love in any way at this point. Okay. I go there. I spend 7 days at this retreat. It becomes this complete transformation for me. And there's 40 or 42 other women there, including all the other facilitators. There was probably 7 or 8 other facilitators. And by the time I was leaving, I was saying, I love you to these people. I was sending love to them. I was hugging them. I was connecting with them. I was completely transformed. And that is the purpose of this retreat, is to transform. Why it's called Mariposa. You come in as a caterpillar, you leave as a butterfly. Matter of fact, on my way out, I was with 4 of the girls. We took a bus back into Austin, and then the next day I was leaving Austin from the airport and flying home. And so we get into Austin, whatever the day is, let's say it's Friday or Saturday, and it's in the afternoon, and we have like all afternoon. And so we all hung out, we went and got burgers and beer, and I'm like, let's go get a tattoo. And we totally, all four of us, walked around the corner down this road in Austin and went and got tattoos. And this was not my first tattoo, but so I get this tattoo of a butterfly with a equal sign. And it's basically a pause button. And it was one of the techniques that we learned in the actual retreat. And we made these decisions and we all got these tattoos that kind of united us together. Everybody's butterfly is different and the colors are different. And at some point you ask me, post it in the group and I will send a picture in there. But anyway, so picture wings and it looks like it's wings on either side of an equal sign. But it's a pause button and it's teaching us to pause as we're making decisions and pause in our life and reevaluate and then decide what area and how we want to improve and transform going forward. And that was the reason for it. So I come home and I'm like a completely different person. Like I feel so amazing inside and I feel so great. And one of the tools we learned had to do with us tapping into our intuition in order to make decisions. And I'm like, this is the best tool ever because I am now going to make a decision based on my higher purpose. Now, you may or may not believe in this, but I'm going to show you an example, and then I'm going to highly encourage you to use this tool the next time you can, whether it's a big decision or a little decision, and feel what happens. Because in order to have transformation, you have to become aware. You have to become aware of your behavior, your desires, your choices, the things that you want to improve in. And if you can't become aware, then you can't transform. The caterpillar becomes aware of his desire to fly. Thus, it puts him through the 14 days of transformation. And then he becomes a butterfly and he flies. So the very first step to transformation is awareness. You cannot do it you can't have one without the other. Okay. So in order for me to transform, and I wanted my life to be so grand and so beautiful and so joyous that on my deathbed, I was like, absolutely, I just lived the best life. I went through all the struggle. I changed all these habits. I created new habits. I went from negative, poor to positive and rich. And I have I went from these crappy relationships to this beautiful relationship. I went from a relationship where she wasn't going to give me a family to a relationship where, I all of a sudden went overnight and I have 3 boys. Okay. You have to become aware of your current status, and then you have to decide if you want to change those things. It is not about the other person changing. Ladies, it's about you. And here is a very powerful tool to use in your decision making, the art of decision making. Okay. This tool is called I'm in, I'm out. Now let's just take something simple about making a decision, and let's say that it's about taking a new job. Okay, so it's either about taking the job or not taking the job. So what you do is you stand up, and the very first thing that you have to do is be able to feel how you feel on the inside. So you have to close your eyes, and this is going to be something that some of you may have to practice several times before you can really tap into how does your body feel on the inside. What emotion are you feeling? Where is that emotion located? What are you feeling? And there was as I'm looking for it again, episode 15, episode 16, all of these are about emotions, and those might be able to help you as we're talking about emotions going forward now, and understanding like where emotions are and tapping into the location of them. But it's all about feeling how you feel. So if you can't do this standing up to do this exercise, then please just start to begin like 5-minute meditation practices where you're just sitting quietly and you're just you don't have to turn your mind off. It's really, really difficult for us to do this in this technological day and age, but to just sit quietly and to just tune in. And when I say tune in, I just mean you're tuning in to how you feel on the inside. Okay. And so you tune into your body and you're just sitting and you're just focusing you might do what's called a body scan. And what that is you start your focus at the top of your head and you go down slowly. It's like a picture, like a blue scan, like they would do in some sort of a science fiction movie. And you're just scanning, right? You're scanning your body. So the top of your head, through your jaw, through your neck, through your shoulders, chest, down your arms, down your torso, down your pelvis, down each leg, all the way to the ground, and noticing how your body feels. So if this exercise, this activity, or this tool is not easy for you to do, then go back and do those steps and just start to do like body scans until you can like feel your heartbeat from the inside. You can sense what your inside is looking like and feeling like. And if you can tap into that energy and the way your body feels, you are going to be creating your life in no time. And it is going to transform before your eyes in a very short period of time. So if you can do that, the next step of this exercise is to do this activity. So now I want to decide if I want to take this job. The first intention that you're going to set before you do this activity is I want to find, you're going to say this, I'm setting the intention that this decision is made for my higher purpose. And this is about me doing what is best for me to fulfill my purpose on this planet. So is this job is going to be one of the stepping stones that is going to help for me to get to be able to serve my higher purpose, then please let me know in my body that this is the right decision. Okay? So then you stand up. Here's how the activity goes. You stand up. Your intention is, if I'm trying to make a decision about this job and I want to know if taking this job is going to fulfill my higher purpose. You stand up, and then what you do is either taking the job or not taking the job is a decision. So you step forward and you say, I'm in, meaning I'm taking the job. Feel how your body feels. Okay, get a sense of it. And then when you step backwards, you're saying, I'm out. I'm not taking the job. And you can do this several times. Let me do it again. You're standing up. Taking the job is a physical step forward. Step forward and say, I'm in. I'm going to take the job. Feel how your body feels. Does it feel excited? Does it feel dread? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel good, or do you not feel good about it? Then you step back and say, I'm out. I'm not taking the job. Now, why do we move physically? Because the sense in the body and the mind is when I'm moving, I am telling the universe I am doing this thing. When we make decisions, it is so much better to do it while you're standing and start to push the energy around. And in order to push the energy around, you have to be physically moving, okay? So if I'm standing here and I say, I am going to lose 20 pounds, how do you feel about that? Okay, step back. I am not going to lose 20 pounds, right? I am going to start my own business. I'm not going to start my own business. And you're physically stepping into. So when we talk about transformation, you hear me say that often, and that's where that comes from. Stepping into your confidence, stepping into your own transformation. Step into the power of you in making decisions to better your life in whatever area you want to better your life. Does that make sense? So if you have two choices to make, because that I just walked you through is about I'm either taking the job or I'm not taking the job. That's either yes or no. Now, if you have two choices, like we did with, I have two people on this piece of paper and I'm trying to decide who I want to continue dating or drop one and pick up the other, whatever. But if you have two choices, the stepping forward could be one person and then stepping back could be the other person. Or you could do one person at a time, because remember what I said early on in this podcast is that sometimes we think our decisions are either one or the other. Most of the time, there's a third decision. Most of the time, there's more than just three. But what if you did nothing? That's also a decision. What if you decided to go with neither of these people? What if both of them were not to serve your higher purpose? What if both of these people were not going to be good for you? Remember, everything is a learning opportunity. But let me ask you this. How many crappy relationships do you want to be in before you learn that you deserve better. And then you have to learn to be in a relationship with you before you can be in a relationship with someone else. Everybody wants a partner and everybody wants a best friend to go through life with. But you have to be your own best friend so your best friend can find you. So you have to learn to be in a relationship with yourself first before others can be in a good, solid relationship with you. So I really loved this tool because it has helped me to gain confidence in being able to make decisions, because before I was wishy-washy. Okay, I'm breaking up with you. I cannot stand this relationship. I hate this roller coaster. You're constantly cheating on me. I feel like crap every time you do it. I can't trust you. I don't want to be with you, right? And out the door they go. And then you start, bringing the decision back to the beginning. You're like, well, what if she just decides that she's confident and then I can be with her, right? What if they are the one? Well, but listen, when you make a decision, when you get that intuitive nudge, that is your higher self. That is the spiritual version of you communicating with you. And if you don't listen, you will have the opportunity again to learn the lesson. Remember the old adage that says the lesson learned, or the lesson keeps showing up until the lesson's learned? Well, it is time to learn those lessons. Is there something in your life that you've been struggling with for years and years and years? And if the answer is yes, then now is your time. Now is your time to gain the support from your other sisters on this podcast, the other audience members, to support you in your transformation. That's why we're here. That is my ultimate goal, is to create this women's alliance, this women's community of people, of women who are transforming their lives in all those areas so they can live the life that they're proud of. And that includes women and women entrepreneurs. A lot of my personal development tools and techniques can all be used all the way across the board. As you keep noticing, I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about money, I'm talking about careers, I'm talking about health, all of those things. And it is my job, it is my purpose, not in my job, it is my purpose to help develop you as a woman or a woman entrepreneur towards transformation. That's my purpose. And I know there are women out there, you listeners, that you have listened to every single podcast thus far, and you're here and you're ready. And there's going to be one nugget in one of my podcasts. And I made the commitment to do a podcast every single day for a year. And I started early. I've got 20, this one's going to be 21. And today's only, I don't know, the 11th of January or something. And so I'm already got a head start. So by the end of the time, I am going to have how many podcasts? That's a lot. 360, 374, 75, 76, 376 by the end of the year. And that's all going to be on transformation and personal development. And part of us like honing into our skills of women on this planet, we have to have self-confidence. We have to have self-awareness and self-love, as well as good decision-making skills. And this is one of my absolute favorite. I'm trying to remember, my son Bob, who's my oldest, I'm trying to remember, I came back from Mariposa and he still lived here. He still lived with me. And I remember walking him through this tool, and I cannot remember what he was having such a struggle with deciding. But it was really interesting because he's a very unique young man. He's currently 26. And so this was, he was probably, let's see if I can, he was 17 or so. No, he was older than that. He was 18. So, but still a young man, right? And he was still trying to figure things out. And so when I had come back from this retreat, I remember we were sitting out on the deck. And I'm really sorry that I cannot remember what he was deciding, but he was very sensitive, and it was a very tender moment between the two of us. And I have definitely opened my relationship up with him and talking about all kinds of things. So he had a safe place to come to, and a person, an adult, someone he could trust. I don't know if you know this, but I adopted him as a 17-year-old, but he moved in as a 15, almost 16-year-old. And immediately I built a relationship with him because I had learned so much about relationships. And this wasn't just relationships, intimate relationships. This was relationships. This was just how I relate to other people. And his counselor was always telling me to read his file, which was like 3 inches thick. And it was about literally 15 years of trauma in this young man's life. But he was such a joy to be around. He was funny. He was intuitive. He was sensitive. He was a talker. He could tell these stories. He was so great. And I just loved him. And the second I met him, he was a really cool kid. He was like quirky, and he was just interesting, and he was just fun. And so it's no doubt that I adopted him. He totally fits into my family. But I had to make a decision about adopting him. And it became kind of a no-brainer. But I will tell you, I didn't know this tool yet. I knew that I didn't want him to go anywhere else. And at this point, he was in foster care. But this was a big decision. At this point, I had just gone through a breakup. I was single. I have this teenager living with me, and I absolutely love him. We get along really, really well. We have a lot in common. We have a very open communication in our relationship, and he was just fun to be around, and the caseworker, our adoption agent, and our caseworker was always at the house, and they were always talking to me. And every month, we had like a review, and, Bob, do you still want to be adopted? And he would say yes. And Jen, do you want to adopt him? And I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, I know he's totally my son, but I don't know about going through adoption yet. I don't know what to do. I don't understand. I've never been faced with this before. But I knew that I didn't want him to go anywhere else. I knew that if our caseworker were to come into the house and said, okay, well, there's another family who wants to adopt him, I would have absolutely gone bananas. Please don't take him away. He was such a joy, and he saved me. I needed him, right? I mean, he was my son. And so anyway, but I had to make this decision. So I remember talking with him and, him about being adopted. And I just thought that was so great. He'd gone through all this trauma and all these other foster homes and all this physical abuse, sexual abuse, abandonment, just this his story is sad, but inspirational because of how it unfolded at the other end. But anyway, I had to make this decision, and I just kept thinking, I'm like, I just love this kid. But intuitively, it just showed up. Our caseworker came over. It was in October 2011, and our caseworker came over, and she's like, okay, how about now? Do you want to adopt him now? And they could see that we were such a good fit together. And he was talking about me in ways that he had never talked about another foster care house before, or a foster parent before. And so our counselor and the guidance counselor and not guidance counselor, our counselor, our caseworker, and this adoption agent are like, he just loves you. It's time. You really should. And I'm like, what's going to happen when he turns 18? And they're like, well, basically anything. He becomes an adult. He's not a ward of the state anymore. He could continue to live with you, or he could move out or whatever. But he then wouldn't be up for adoption anymore because now he's an adult, right? So he just turned 17 in September, and now it's October, and this lady says, hey, what do you think? I need to ask Bob again if he still wants to be adopted. And of course the answer was yes, which everyone was surprised by, but he was just such a tender, sensitive kid. Of course he wants a family to belong to. He did not become hardened about all of his trauma. He did not become hard and desensitized and not wanting to have relationships or deep connections with other people. He didn't do that. He didn't choose that route. He continued to choose to be open to the idea of belonging to a family. And thankfully so. And so October I said, okay, yeah, I do want to adopt him. And I just kind of decided. And then that was kind of it. And then we started to go through the process, and it was a surprise. I didn't want him to be told. I wanted to present him with a certificate, like an adoption certificate, and kind of surprise them at Christmas. Now, if you've ever adopted anybody or you yourself have been adopted, it's a very long process. It's like a 6-month process. It's a little bit pricey and a lot of background check. And of course, all of these things have to take place. And as soon as I made the decision, it was like, it was like this inspirational moment. And it was very magical for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just made a decision to call him my son. But now he's unaware of it at this point. So our counselor and all the people involved, please don't tell him, it's going to be a surprise. So I don't know if I told the story yet in my podcast. I'm surprised I haven't, but here I am telling it. And I've told it several times from stage, and it's quite an inspirational story. But we go to my mom's for Christmas, and he's with me, and I have a framed certificate that I printed and put his name in and signed it. And it says, Robert James Douglas MacArthur, welcome to the MacArthur family. And then I signed my name and I put a date and all that stuff. And I give him this certificate at Christmas. So all the presents are opened except this last one. It's in like a shirt box. And nobody knows. My mom is there, my stepdad, my brother, and his wife are there, and nobody knows what's about to happen. So Bob, he takes the paper off, he opens a box, he pulls the tissue paper back, he reads this frame, and he puts the certificate back in the box, puts the tissue back, puts the lid back on it. And I'm like, Bob, I said, honey, open that up. I said, nobody knows what's in there. And he goes, Jen, I'm trying not to cry. And my mom was like, what's in there? Anyway, so we open it back up and we show it. My mom, of course, melts. And then I start crying. And my brother doesn't know. My dad doesn't know. Or my stepdad. Nobody knows what's happening. And we show him. And I said, I'm adopting Bob. And everybody, is just like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. My mom's crying. I'm hugging her. I'm crying. Bob's, he's like, he doesn't know what to do. And he gets this big hug. Anyway, it's about a 2-hour drive. We get in the car. We're leaving. And he just has this ear-to-ear grin on his face. And I just keep catching it, as we're driving home. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I just didn't know that was going to happen. Like, he's like, this is the happiest day of my life. And it gives me chills even today, right? And this was end of 2011. And he goes, this is just the happiest day of my life. And so we drive home and he just has this grin. I just keep, I reach over and I kind of touch him on the shoulder, or, we're talking and whatever. And he just can't stop smiling. So now we get home. And I'm sitting on the couch and he comes in and sits next to me and he's just got this ear-to-ear grin on your face. And I look at him and I said, did you really think that I wasn't going to adopt you? And he says, yeah. He goes, I thought that I would just turn 18 and I would just age out of foster care and I would just move out. And I said, well, kid, now you're stuck with me. And it was just this very tender moment that he was allowing me to adopt him and I was making the decision to call him my son. But I will tell you, even though I didn't know this particular tool, this I'm in, I'm out, I did make this decision based on my intuition, my higher purpose. I knew that I didn't want him to go anywhere. I just needed to make the decision to make it so. And I did. And now he's my son. So here we are, right? And how do you make these decisions? And this is one of my favorite tools to use. I still use it to this day. And it can be something that completely transforms your life in gaining the confidence to being able to tap into your higher self or tap into your spiritual purpose of, is this decision going to be the best outcome for what I'm looking for or to serve my purpose? And your purpose doesn't mean it has to change the world, but everybody's here for a reason. And some of those reasons are to be upfront pioneers that change the world, like me, that's just moving forward and paving a new path for women and women entrepreneurs. Or it could be that, you have the best life that you are meant to live and the healthiest body. And you could use this to make choices about what to eat. So the point of all of this is to gain the confidence and that transformational result to being able to easily make decisions in your life. Because, I frankly got really tired of other people making decisions for me because I simply wouldn't make the decision. So women that I would get in these relationships with would treat me poorly because I'm coming across as being wishy-washy. I'm not coming across as being confident. And being able to make decisions easily like this gives off an air of confidence. I'm not talking about ego. I'm just talking about confidence. And there's an attraction to confidence. Now there's a physical attraction, if you're looking at dating or whatever, but I'm talking about like energetic concentration or attraction. So think about like those laser lights. If you take a flashlight and it is just this splayed out light, it doesn't do anything but shine a light in the area that you're pointing at. But now if you really concentrate all of that energy of the light and concentrate it, it could burn a hole in your carpet. That's what I'm talking about when you are able to make decisions and to concentrate your decision making and your confidence together. You're able to make a result happen. So making a decision like this about anything in your life, stepping into entrepreneurship, starting the business that you've always wanted to start, move out of this relationship and into another relationship that is better and more conducive to health, or getting out of a relationship altogether and focusing on you and your health and building confidence and building this aligned energy with what it is you truly, truly want to live. All of that is concentrated energy, and decision making helps to do that. Remember, we talked about in the last episode about the power process. The very first thing is to make the decision, because then you're telling the universe, I'm intending to create this. I'm intending to step into the role of being an entrepreneur. I'm intending to step into the role of self-love, or to step in the role of, I'm going to be wealthy by the end of the year. I'm going to make $100,000 or $500,000, or I don't care, whatever your thing is, whatever your dream is. I am stepping into that area of my life I want to be improved. And that, my friends, is what transformation is. It is the ability to step into the thing you want to create. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this episode, please take the time to like and share. Also, please visit me on my other social media pages. I'm on Instagram, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I'm on Facebook, where we have this community titled Life Mastery Decoded, and it's a community of women and women entrepreneurs where we come together to support one another in sharing our successes and struggles. You can also check out my YouTube channel, where I share my teachings and my personal journey, and it's simply titled Jen Mack, Jenmac. Have a great day, and I hope to hear from you.